And with Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown on their way out, the Steelers are putting all their chips in on the last remaining B, Ben Roethlisberger. The team is working to extend Roethlisberger's contract this offseason, and general manager Kevin Colbert emphatically endorsed Roethlisberger's stature, telling local reporters Wednesday that Roethlisberger is the unquestioned leader of the team. Colbert also pointed out Roethlisberger is the lone remaining Steeler from that 2008 Super Bowl team. Big Ben wears that burden. He hopes to carry it back to Steelers prominence.
Jeremy, thank you. And that's an interesting part of this because it looks like they're willing to get rid of they're going to get rid of a 27-year-old running back. Yep. They're willing, it seems, to get rid of a 30-year-old wide receiver who, by the way, here's the list of players in NFL history with 6 straight 100-catch seasons. Antonio Brown. End list. But they have a 35, soon-to-be 36-year-old quarterback that for the last couple of years has said, I may be retiring, I may not be retiring, yet they're all in on him. That seems a bit odd.
Yeah, it's almost like this offseason is one of bookkeeping for the Steelers, not just like contractually, but getting all the right personalities placed in the right spots for them. But Ben Roethlisberger, as you said, Trey, kind of flirted with or at least opened the door.
By the way, he had a great season, let's be clear. He had a great season this past year.
Led the NFL in passing yards. The guy was rock solid. But still, yeah, there is always a risk, and there are several teams taking it right now around the NFL on quarterbacks in their mid-30s or later, and them either deciding retirement is time for them, maybe their play regressing rapidly, or just that other teams catch up to them within their division, and a 36-year-old quarterback makes less sense from an investment standpoint. But it is sort of interesting. Who would have thought that maybe Ben Roethlisberger would be the last B standing, as Jeremy Fowler just put it?
Yeah.
What's interesting about this is you have to remember something. These decisions and these teams are run by human beings that have personal preferences, and sometimes it comes down to just that. Just that. It doesn't have to necessarily make the business sense that it makes, that maybe it would make to us, the football sense that maybe it would make to us. Sometimes it's just this. You know what? I don't like how you're conducting yourself. I don't like how you're doing business and some of the things that you're doing with your personal time that we aren't privy to. That trust me, teams know a lot more about what their guys and what they're doing in order to make decisions than we do. And with this guy, maybe we do like what he's doing, or maybe we don't care what he is doing, or maybe we just like him better. It happens like that sometimes. I've seen it. I've experienced it. And that's why in this situation, look, this one's going to have some legs for a while. People are going to be talking about, man, how do you get rid of these two guys? How do you get rid of both of them? How do you let both of them walk? Not just one, but both of them. And at the same time, keep a quarterback who is getting a little bit long in the tooth, who did have a good season, who some people don't necessarily like.
Yeah, well, Antonio Brown certainly put that out there.
And that's not the only person.
Yeah.
He's not the only one. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
It'll be really interesting. I don't say that Ben ran Antonio Brown out of town, but you certainly can see some of the roots of this in the comments he made after the play in Denver in the end zone, where he said, AB's got to flatten that route out in the end zone. If he doesn't, I'm not throwing a pick. And then, of course, the temper tantrum that Ben Roethlisberger has denied that Antonio Brown had. But still, be careful what you wish for. When all of a sudden Juju Smith-Schuster is getting number one wide receiver attention unto himself, and your next best option might be, James Washington or, I guess.
See, look, you can easily, and people have done this really over the past couple of days. It's easy to pile on Antonio Brown right now because he's making it easy based on how he's conducting himself on social media. But here's the fact, folks. If you want to, look at other examples, do you see Drew Brees talking about his wide receivers after games, disappointing games, the way Ben does?
No.
Do you see Tom Brady talk about his wide receivers after games like Ben Roethlisberger does? So let's just put it this way. If you were in an Antonio Brown situation and you saw this kind of thing happening, and I'm sure there's things happening behind the scenes that you don't even know about, would you be happy about it? Would you start to tell some people about, hey, look, man, I'm kind of getting a little bit tired of this?
Sure.
And you're right. It brings up the question, how do they get rid of, again, these two guys, and I'm not saying they're angels, and you keep this guy who does some things that, quite honestly, some of the other great quarterbacks just don't do.
Yeah.
They don't.
And the other thing is interesting here, they believe they have replacements for both Antonio Brown and they have Le'Veon Bell and James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster.
They have a great history of being able to do it, especially at wide receiver, finding value, second-round players, fifth, sixth-round players who become superstars like AB.
The reason Emmanuel Sanders was let go because they believe they had Antonio Brown. Right. And look, Emmanuel Sanders has done great things for the Denver Broncos, but once he left, it paved the way for Antonio Brown to become Antonio Brown, and it has certainly blossomed.